Now, writing an awesome blog post is more than just knowing the best keywords and phrases to use. It's all about how you set up that article and whether you're good at engaging your audience. And when it comes to WordPress, making that content is a lot easier. I'm Mike with WriterSanctuary, and today I'm going to be covering how to write blog posts for beginners in WordPress. Now, obviously, the first part of writing any kind of content is knowing what key phrases you want to target. But it takes more than just finding the best keywords. You have to know search intent. Are you going to be able to provide answers that people are looking for in search? And that takes a little bit more diving into, but it's worthwhile if you focus on what you can provide an audience. What kind of answers can you give? Is somebody going to walk away from your blog post informed or entertained? And that's the tricky part. But once you decide what phrase you want to use, it's time to create a catchy title. Now, catchy title isn't the same as clickbait. If you can provide the information that's in your title, then all is well. But to create some great titles, you can use tools like CoSchedule. And CoSchedule's headline analyzer will go through the linguistics of your title and figure out if it's going to be something that's shareable on social media or compared to your competitors. And the higher score you come up with on CoSchedule, the better. Another tool you can try is Exact Metrics. Now, I use Exact Metrics because it tracks my Google Analytics, but they've added quite a bit to the plugin over the years. Part of that is adding a headline analyzer for WordPress. It works similar to how CoSchedule works, but it happens on WordPress in real time, so you don't have to go back to a different website. However, CoSchedule does go a lot deeper in the details. Now, once you get your title ready, it's time to set up your intro. Your intro is probably one of the most vital pieces of content on your blog post. You only have a handful of seconds to engage an audience, and if you can't do that within the first 15 seconds, they're going to leave. So in order to create a proper intro, you have to convince the people who are visiting your site that you are about to provide the answers they're looking for. It has to be succinct, on point, descriptive yet short, because the sooner you get them into the meat of the article, the better. And that's the hardest part, is convincing people that they're in the right place and that you're going to be able to inform them. Or entertain, it really depends on what your blog's about. Now, the next one is kind of optional. Consider using a table of contents. Now, what a TOC does is that it provides all of the different headers that are in your article that someone can skim through. So if they're looking for exact pieces of information about a certain topic, they can just jump to it. Not to mention that some table of contents work really well for getting your content in something like Google Snippets. Now, featured snippets are those really quick bits of information that you find in Google search, and they're usually based on header numbers, bullet points, stuff like that. And some plugins for table of contents can easily get your stuff added to those featured snippets, and that could vastly increase how many people visit your website. Now, a table of contents doesn't necessarily need to be on every post. I usually put them on if there's more than 5 headings in any post that I write. Because if you only write a 300-word article, a table of contents is going to be kind of pointless. Now, the next thing I do is outline the article. Now, you don't necessarily have to do it this way. I do because it keeps me focused on what I'm creating. Now, I did a video about how to outline an article, and I'll leave a link to that video in the description down below. But essentially, you start with your primary headings, your secondaries, and your tertiaries. Now, tertiary headings you probably don't need depending on the article you're writing, but definitely your primary and secondary headings are important. Your secondary headings have to be reflective of the primary headings. It's kind of confusing, I know. I explained a lot better in that other video. But headings are important not only for the table of contents, but for people who are just skimming through the article. Because if there's a piece of valid information that you want them to have, it's great to start off with a heading because it catches the eye and stops them from skimming. So in the example here, if I was doing a primary heading for create a descriptive and catchy title, the subheadings below it, the secondaries, would be using CoSchedule and using Exact Metrics. And then I would dive into both tools on how they help you create a descriptive catchy title. And the more you understand the heading hierarchy, the better. And the next part, and probably the more difficult, is writing out the body of work. But when you create your blog post, you want to try to keep the sentences short and sweet. You want to keep them succinct and to the point. Something else you want to keep in mind is you want to keep your paragraphs short. Keep in mind that a lot of people that visit your website are going to be doing so from a smartphone, and you don't want them being faced with a wall of text. So paragraphs that are 1, 2, 3 sentences long are okay. Anything after that, and it just gets a bit too long, and it doesn't look very good from a phone. You want to also make sure that you keep your content easy to read. You want to avoid a lot of big terms and jargon that the reader might not know. That is, unless you're targeting a college audience, or if you're writing legal documents or scientific papers. There's some instances where you'll want to use jargon and advanced language. But for a personal blog or anything of that nature, you want to keep the language as simple as possible. And you want to use images to accentuate your post. Like the saying goes, a picture is worth 1,000 words. But you want to make sure those images are relevant to what you're writing about. So if you're writing a tutorial about how to do something in WordPress and you show pictures of fish, it's not going to make much sense. A good rule of thumb is to make sure that your image supports the sentence before and the sentence after. Now when it comes to WordPress, I use tools like Yoast SEO, which helps me keep the language in check and also helps organize my headings and paragraphs. As long as you keep all that stuff in the green, you're good to go. In fact, Yoast SEO has helped me tremendously get a lot of content in the top search pages. Another tool you might want to consider using Grammarly. Grammarly does have a free account, and if you copy and paste it into the web app, you can find quite a few errors and stuff, but upgrading to the premium account is probably going to be worthwhile, especially if you're going to plan on creating a lot of content. Now personally, I installed the Grammarly Chrome extension, and it works fairly well with WordPress, especially with the classic editor. But when it comes to Gutenberg, it has a little bit of an issue. So I would suggest using the app of Grammarly and then copy and pasting your article from that to WordPress. But you can do it any way you like. And lastly, you want to write a great conclusion. Now a conclusion should be a short synopsis of the article you just created and how it benefits the reader. This also includes any calls to action that you want to include, such as leave a comment down below, click this button to try this tool. In fact, the CTA that's on my Buy Me a Coffee article that's on WriterSanctuary.com has helped me make quite a bit of money. Just keep in mind that a conclusion doesn't need to be super long. So there you have it. Those are my steps for writing some amazing content in WordPress. Unfortunately, I can't write the article for you. That's going to be completely up to you. Because personality, skill, grammar, spelling, all of that's going to play a big role. And if you have any questions about how to write a blog post, leave in the comments down below. I pay pretty close attention to it. So what's your favorite tool for writing a blog post? Personally, I think among my favorites is Yoast SEO. I do have a thing for Grammarly, and I really like CoSchedule's new tool. The headline analyzer used to be kind of basic, now they fleshed it out. It's kind of fun just sitting there trying to come up with new titles. But anyway, if you enjoyed the video, hit the like button. For more videos about blogging, freelance writing, WordPress, or anything else I cover, hit the subscribe button. Don't forget to hit the notification bell. I think that's going to do it for me today. I'll see you next time.